I'm Norma Jean Shaw with the Royal Examiner, and I'm pleased today to welcome in Christopher Morrison, who is on the Front Royal Town Council, and he's running for his first full seat. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to have you in here because I cover Town Council as well as Roger Bianchini, other full-time reporter here at the Royal Examiner. You were appointed to fill a vacant seat, so you must be excited at the prospect of having a whole term to carry out some of the things that you've started working on.
Absolutely. Would you like me to speak to that?
Absolutely. You came into Town Council well seasoned, but I think some people don't know about that. So let's tell folks about that.
So prior to becoming a councilman for Front Royal, I was a planning commissioner for 3 years. I had moved here in 2012 in May, and shortly thereafter I discovered that there was a great deal of blight and lack of maintenance for properties, and no real standard being held for homeowners, and the infamous term of slumlord. So I called, several calls. I think we had 16 calls over the course of a few months at my neighbor's property, and I started digging and finding out why that was, and nothing was really getting done. So I actually did small interviews with my neighbors to find out what the issue was, and I found out that there was nothing being done nor could be done. So my wife and I went and spoke with the captain of the police department, and he said I needed to get in touch with my councilman. I didn't realize what that was at the time, but I quickly was introduced to Brett Herbeck. And I had worked with Brett off and on for a few months, and then I interviewed for a position for the bar. Did not get the position at the bar, but I did get a follow-up call asking if I would like to be on the planning commission, which I then accepted. While being on the planning commission, it was a plethora of knowledge a big learning curve that I had to grasp at that time, and I did so adequately. But it was about 6 months into being on the planning commission that I asked, how do we actually get things done in terms of property maintenance? They said that's not our wheelhouse, that's outside of our authority. We have to present that to town council. So Brett Herbeck did that, and it just so happened that by the time it finally came to council was when I got appointed.
So that was
perfect timing.
Perfect timing for you. And to clarify, BAR is a Board of Architectural
Correct.
Review for people who aren't sure what that is.
Right, correct.
Okay, so you were newly appointed on council, and now that topic is now being presented to council, and then what happened?
Well, so it's been 2 years volleying back and forth for various reasons, but it did successfully pass on Monday. It was a lot of persistence on my part. It was a lot of educating and patience with council in the town, with public hearings, and actually getting people involved. So this is a collective effort, not just a council effort. And like I said, it did pass on Monday. So I just returned from travels all week with my son, and I have yet to speak with anyone in regards to implementing or enforcement, but I'm eager to do so come Monday.
Okay, so so that's something that you've been working on for a lot of time, but there are certainly other issues that face this town, and there are things that you'll have to deal with as well as that. What do you see are some of the pressing issues moving forward for the town besides this issue that you've worked on for the last 5 years, 2 of them as a town councilman?
Okay, certainly. So just before, I want to reiterate the importance of property maintenance, and the standard is just that, it's a standard. I believe the culture here has given up in a lot of ways. You pick up the phone, you try to make something happen, your rights protected, whatever, and then it doesn't. So you become hopeless, which is a very despairing place or position to be in. The businesses feel that way too. I know there are some success stories, and that's great, but for a large majority on my campaign, I've been going to businesses, downtown especially, and I hear the same story every time. With the inspections, with opening a new business especially, it is quite difficult. I don't believe it should ever be that difficult. If we're business friendly, or at least that's the motto that we share, then I think we should show that with action as well and truly be business friendly. So really for me, phase 2 is helping revitalize downtown by making it truly business friendly. I think we need to have our own inspector.
Mhm.
I think that we need to have a community group that consists of small business owners, so that their input is actually taken to action and represented. I also feel like, in terms of, I know we hear a lot about parking, but there are certain issues with parking that could serve as a catalyst for the overarching overall parking issue. I also feel like if we could revitalize downtown in terms of businesses, we need to look at larger industries so that we can bring in, large corporations and commerce. I have quite a few ideas about that. One last thing I'll end on, being in Yellowstone for a week, it's a place of inspiration, if you will. And I would like to see Front Royal be a place of inspiration too. I like for people to come here to dream and birth new ideas. And I like for it to be the buzz all the way up to the Capitol about what's going on in Front Royal. I know that in order for that to happen, we have to have a plan, a long-term development future plan, and we have to have the right leadership to serve that plan out. So no matter how many times we have rotation on council, we're still implementing and serving the overarching plan for development.
So, do you feel that the long-term planning has not been where it should be, or do you think that? Okay.
I believe we're in a current state of reacting, so we're in a reactive state rather than being proactive. Big companies, Amazon and so forth, big box stores, they're not going to come unless they know that they can invest in this town and their assets are secure.
Sure. Let me ask you this, Chris. A lot of times, Facebook, social media, that's where a lot of people in the community place their ideas, their thoughts, their wishes, things they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people will say things like, well, Chick-fil-A was going to come here, and then they didn't because of a site issue. But people say, we need a Chick-fil-A, we need this fast food restaurant, we need this, that. I don't know if some folks in the community are educated in the right way about what needs to come here. A fast food restaurant doesn't really add a whole lot to the community. You might get a sandwich that you like, but they're not well-paying jobs that can sustain a family. Yes, they do bring in some tax income, but we'd much rather have something like Amazon or a car manufacturing plant that can produce a wage that can support a family.
Sure, I understand. Would you like me to
I would like for you to talk about that, yes,
Okay.
because we need to let the public know we're working toward getting that to you. Chick-fil-A would be great, but we'd rather find a company to come in to provide jobs for you so you don't have to commute to Northern Virginia.
Right. So two things. The answer I have is twofold. Hopefully I can remember everything. But the first thing is, I don't want Front Royal to ever be cookie cutter. I don't want it to be commercialized and have franchises like Chick-fil-A and Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, and that be the extent of the vision. I think what we need to do is we need to really pull from our natural resources. We could really boost our ecotourism here. I mean, I go back to the fact that I just came from Yellowstone, and they really just provide access to the natural scenery, right? And I think you dumb it down when you put all these chains in here and saying, like you said, they're not providing a real asset or resource in terms of employment. And I would like to drive innovation. I would like to see, once again, going back to the ecotourism and really utilizing that. Like, I think we could be so much more if we could capitalize on our ecotourism and drive innovation in terms of small businesses around that. The other part of the question you addressed was what exactly?
Well, educating our folks in the community about the fact that we need to bring more of those types of businesses in that are going to support the community as a whole. We really need to have jobs here rather than having
Correct.
people commute down to Northern Virginia.
That's exactly right. So I spoke on this many times before. You want people to work and live here and be invested here. It's a shame when you don't have enough affordable housing or whatnot for people to work here, like for instance in the school system, and live in the surrounding areas, or always commuting to Northern Virginia or DC. Absolutely attract these talented groups and keep them here so we can have a full life, full circle.
Okay. The town and the county work together. Some people say very well, some people say, eh. What are your thoughts about how the town and county work together now, and what are your hopes for the future for the two entities to work together?
Okay, well, at its very basic form, it's all about interpersonal communication. It's all about relationships, correct? We say town and county, but what you're really talking about are people.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about a handful of people for the town and a handful of people for the county. The county doesn't have as much turnover in terms of supervisors as town does for councilmen. So that's pretty standard, pretty steadfast. I really believe what it boils down to, without too much detail, is compromise, and once again going back to the overarching vision for development, because Warren County is Front Royal.
Okay, let's wrap up and give us your elevator pitch. Tell folks when they go to the polls
Sure.
in November why they're going to vote for you.
Absolutely. So the reason I would ask for you to vote for me is quite simple. For the past 5 years, I've been working diligently for the town of Front Royal. I've been working here almost my entire residency. I've been here for a little over 6 and working for 5. I set out with one goal. That one goal initially was to clean up the town through the means of property maintenance. I have gone through trenches, I have gone through hoops and hurdles, and I have succeeded. A lot to my own demise in that regard. I also am not afraid of a fight. I'm not afraid to take on the unpopular fight. I will not dabble in dirty politics. I will always be honest, and you can always call me on that. So, to keep me on the job, come November 6th, vote Morrison.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Good luck to you, and we'll find out what happens
Yeah,
for
we will.
November 6th.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your
I
time.
appreciate it.
I'm Norma Jean Shaw, and that's a look at Chris Morrison and his candidacy. Thanks for watching.